Hi everyone, welcome to our newest episode of our podcast. We have Zouheir here with us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Zouheir, marketing manager for snacks at General Mills, Nature Valley and Bugles. Hope you know them.
I'm sure most people would know them. Okay, first question. How did social media shape your brands, both brands, in general? Like how did the rise of social media affect the persona of the brands?
To understand brand persona, we have to go back to where it started. Yeah, if we go back to how advertising and media started a couple of decades ago, with print, then billboards, out of home, then radio, and then TV, and now digital. For a long period of time, the brand persona was designed by the brand and communicated by the brand towards consumers or whoever is watching and consuming that media. What social media did is that it took away a lot of that freedom to design from the brand, and it allowed consumers to help brands design their persona. Because the content is reactive, people can express how much they like the content or dislike the content. They can accept or not accept the content. Brands cannot be neutral at some occasions because you can communicate instantly, react instantly. So it's not necessarily a brand persona designed by us or by the brands towards consumers. It's about how we are fitting into the social environment that today is very dynamic, changing, lots of new subjects, and in an environment where everyone has an opinion and brands are being pushed to have an opinion, with some brands being a bit conservative on in what topics to have opinions on, it becomes a bit tricky to say that, okay, this is how we are designing our brand persona in the social world. We're trying to maintain some brand guidance on what kind of topics we discuss on social, what we address, and what tone of voice we speak. But then a lot of our content is us talking back to our consumers and people who basically love our brands, and understanding what they want us to talk about and building that persona together. So advertising has become more of a real person rather than when you go back 50 years ago and talking about brand persona on an ad that's printed. I mean, there's no persona in there. It's you deciding what you want to print on that ad. The persona, it means coming from the word person, right?
Yeah, it's more of a democracy now. Like everyone has a say.
Exactly. And in a person, just like the journey of anyone, you change your views, you change your mind. Some people will influence you, some people will not. You will react to certain events in your life, and others you'll just pass by. But you're reacting to how people are interacting with you, and that's how you're building your persona. And I think brands are following a very similar path now.
Okay, and how do visuals and copy affect that, and what's the relationship between both?
I always try to watch an ad, listening to it without seeing it, and then seeing the ad without listening to the copy, to understand if the ad is understood both ways, because they complement each other. And it's not that, I know today we talk a lot about some platforms being sound on and others being image driven and others being text driven. In reality, nothing is just one piece. I mean, the visuals have as much as an important role as the script, but all of these are changing, especially in the social world. I mean, when we go back to print ad, limited space, which means limited visuals, which means limited amount of words you can use. And then radio came in, which is no visuals, a lot of words that you can use. And then came TV, where you have
both
storytelling basically. And then came social, where you have not only your ad, you have your caption, and then you have how you react to the comments that people are writing to you, right? So it's a lot more than just script or copy nowadays. It's how does the visual tell a story, and where do you need to put copy or words to support that story without overdoing it. A lot of things can be communicated in motion. I think we discuss it sometimes in our planning for certain campaigns. A lot of objectives for brands can be achieved through visuals. certain emotions, sensations, and script should be used to emphasize certain elements rather than over-scripting an ad that eventually people might disengage with because it's over-scripted. Yeah.
And now that nearly all brands are on social media, how can you stand out like on social with so many competitors?
Good choice of words for the question. Standing out is something that is always discussed. How do we stand out?
How do we go viral?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the right word. In social is like not social specifically, digital and then enabled by social is a very, very wide word. If you want to think practically, you cannot stand out always.
Let me rephrase it. How do you succeed on social media? Like, how do you define success for the brands you manage?
Yeah, so there are the, let's say, immortal elements of advertising, which is top of mind.
Okay.
So a lot of brands now are looking for campaigns and maybe looking at a one-shot campaign, especially brands that cannot afford 360 media due to their size or their strategies. So these brands would look at, okay, how can I make one big hit campaign? That is against top of mind, that has worked on print, on TV, on radio, and in the digital world. Being consistently active still has a role to play in the brand's awareness and the brand's general top of mind. So we have to be present. Now, will it necessarily be being present always with out of the world campaigns and let's say integrated campaigns? Not necessarily. That will always go back to the size of the brands, how much you're willing to spend on the brands from a creation. But again, especially with social media, to answer your question specifically, with the rise of what we see now in the world of creators and content creators, that's giving opportunities for a lot of brands, smaller sized brands especially, to be present on social media. Maybe not directly them speaking, but the creators speaking on their behalf. And even that, you can see how the indirect communication was influenced along with the timeline of digital and traditional media. We used to talk about KOL some 30, 40 years ago, key opinion leaders. Then we talked about influencers, and now we're talking about creators. And that is an evolution, basically telling you that people just posing for products is not necessarily attractive anymore. And this is driven by social, because now social has become a way for people not to only let's say distract themselves with uninformative content. People are actually looking to learn, get something back from that content. And this is where social media is evolving now. And this is where you see successful content is something that's giving back to people on their time off, let's say, from the real world. So this is where all of it comes together on how can you take away their attention for a couple of seconds, but also give them something back that's good for them in a bit of selfless way that can remind them of something positive or make them smile. And brands should not have any excuses anymore of not being present on social with the available solutions today. If you can't do production, you can use creators. If you can't use creators, you can use text. I mean, there are so many platforms available for you to just be present, as long as you're relevant. And I think this is the most important part. How do you become relevant on social?
Okay. And if you had to choose between TV ads and social, like where would you go? If you had like a limited budget and you have to choose one.
Good that you added that part of the question. There's no denying that TV still has a big presence, but TV as well is changing. I mean, we talk about TV, you talk about zapping channels, but through channels, but that's not the case anymore, right? There is now connected TV, there is subscription TV that basically it's kind of an on-demand and
like Netflix and
exactly, and you cannot reach it by just advertising on TV. No, that's advertising on specific platforms and networks. So TV is getting digitalized as well. I don't think if you're a branch, you should just rule out TV because it's traditional media. Yeah, that was the case before connected TV and subscription TV came on. But now TV is getting digitalized, and guess what? It's still getting a lot of eyeballs. So eventually we will adapt to bringing back TV in a more digital way, maybe treat it as part of our digital ecosystem, and develop our advertising that way. For brands on a budget, to answer your specific question, when TV might seem unaffordable, those are the ways to be present on TV without being on TV. So without going on traditional channels or pan-Arab channels or pan-Asian channels, you can be on specific subscription channels that caters to a certain audience of yours, which brings back the discussion again to digital, that how can I know where my audience is going, understand who is watching me, for what reason they're watching me, and where can I reach them. So it is TV and digital still. It's just not the old TV that we know, it's the new TV that we know. I'm a big advocate of digital media and social media, to be specific, but social media alone will not be probably as how do you say, comprehensive as using social media and digital media or video on demand platforms as well as connected TV to make sure you're covering the audience. Because now we're not talking about one screen. You know what I mean? If you go back 50 years ago, you read a newspaper, that's the newspaper you read, you see the ad on that newspaper, and that's it. Then radio channel depends on what you listen to, and then TV depends on what channels you watch. Now we're talking about multi-screen life. You'll be on your phone, you'll be on your TV, you'll switch from your TV to some subscription platform, then to another, then back to your phone, then to your iPad. I mean,
and you're still on your phone, and
exactly. So you cannot just say social media is the way. It's social media, digital media, and in my opinion, connected TV as we go.
Okay. And what's the funniest piece of content that you got from any creator? I know you work with creators, so what's the funniest piece
for
of
work
content
or while watching?
No, for work.
For work. Okay.
While watching, that's gonna be endless.
At work. There was one piece of content created for our Bugles brand for the launch of Bugles Caramel.
Okay.
The piece of content was about how that flavor is, let's say, once you start having it, you cannot stop having it. That piece of content, I mean, and this is what made me think that really creators are the future of social, in my opinion. They know how to cater for their audience. They know how to engage their audience. Not all creators are created equal, but some of them are better than others. And I think with time, brands and agencies alike are starting to better identify a creator from an influencer. These are two different group of people, in my opinion. And they created this whole narrative and story of how once he had the first bite of Bugles, then he wanted that Bugles of caramel everywhere in all his dishes, and his friend was like looking unfazed, like what's happening. So, I mean, that was a funny content that I received, and unexpected, let's say. That was the good part of it.
It makes sense now why you believe in creators. Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you, John.
That's it, and have a good day, everyone.